This is right in Lucas's wheelhouse. Well, in the first round. I will specify that. All right, let's get out of here. All right, let's play the clip. It's Brad Holmes on the wide receiver class.
There's some guys that's gonna, should be able to contribute immediately. But, in terms of my opinion of strength, that's always subjective. That's what makes the draft so fascinating is, what our draft board is. There's 31 other draft boards that they may think that it's not as good or, so we'll just keep those to ourselves. But I do think there's some receivers that's going to be able to contribute pretty early, I would think, in this class.
Right.
Receivers that he believes will be able to contribute pretty early. Which, I mean, I agree with that. It's a deep class, Klotz.
Very.
Yeah. But like I just said, you look at the top 5 of this class, and you look at a perfect example is like Keon Coleman. You look at the top 10 of this draft, of this 2024 NFL draft, there's most likely going to be 3 wide receivers taken. You look back at the Drake London, Garrett Wilson, that draft, there was 3 wide receivers taken in the top 20, but not in the top 10. So you look at how this draft stacks up, the guys that are like, they could go first or second round, those and much more drafts are going to be clear first round picks. So that's why when you talk about, even you hear him talk about the corners, like, yeah, the top end of talent is very similar. The top end talent in this wide receiver class is different. So I'm not saying that I'm pounding the table. I'm going to be walking off the stage if the Lions don't take a wide receiver in round 1. We could take Jalen Polk, which I'd be happy with. I know Booner would be even more ecstatic with. In round 2,
I'll get a jersey.
Brendan Rice in round 3. There's so many ways that you could cut it. But at the end of the day, I just think the Detroit Lions, they have an opportunity to add another element to this offense with another playmaking wide receiver. You look around the league, and that's where teams are having success, just adding as many weapons around the quarterbacks as possible. With a quarterback like Jared Goff, I think that's a little bit more value than some other ones. Like you look at the Joe Burrows, surrounded by wide receivers, but I think he would still be successful if he just had Jamar Chase and Tyler Boyd. Jared Goff, I think he benefits a little bit more. So I think adding a wide receiver in this draft specifically is so important in the first 3 rounds.
I'm with Lucas too, is I think Brad does know how deep this is. And I think when you like to the points that I've been making this whole show, when he's looking at the best player and on his board, at some point when it comes to the Detroit Lions pick, or when he's looking to make a move and moving up and the guy's falling, there will be, and I think this is almost like a guarantee and a lock, and I'll lock this in now. There's going to be a BPA or best player that he has on his big board that is a wide receiver in the first 3 rounds. That's how good this wide receiver class is. It's just like Jahmyr Gibbs at 12, to where there's so many good wide receivers in this class from 1 to 15 to even lower. Like there's so many guys to where eventually when it's time for the Detroit Lions to pick in the first 3 rounds, or if there's an opportunity to move, Brad's going to say, yes, let's make this move. He knows Josh Reynolds is gone. He knows yes, you have DPJ. He knows you need a guy in a rookie deal to kind of you need to keep bringing weapons in. That's the biggest thing in the league too. You need to bring weapons in on rookie deals, especially receivers. Big teams do it all the time. Even look at the Rams, just getting Puka Nacua turns out to be something. So
same type of receiver as Cooper Kupp too.
Yeah, so you need to bring weapons in, and if that's Roman Wilson at a point, even though he's similar, like people are like, oh well, you have Amon Ra. No, you just need to bring these guys in, and if that's like some of his best available guys, I think in the first 3 rounds, it's a lock and guarantee to see the Detroit Lions get another weapon. I truly do, and I don't think it's because they need one. I think it's because there's so many good ones on his board, and there's going to be one there that he's going to say, yep, best player available, take him.
Yeah, I agree.
First
I agree
3 rounds,
too.
but not round 1. Go ahead, Mike.
No, I was going to say I agree too. There's no way without one of those 3 first picks, like Booner said, one of the first 3 picks, that he doesn't draft a BPA wide receiver in one of those. That's my whole thing about it. I don't know if it will be in the first round, and I've kind of clamored for it. Like I said, Brian Thomas, but if he has other ideas, he still is going to draft a wide receiver with one of those first 3 picks. No doubt about it.
Yeah, just, pick a side, Mike. What are we doing here? All right, you want to join? You want to join this side? No wide receiver in the first round? You can stand that.
What are we doing
right?
sides here? Are you dictatorship or whatever it is over there?
He's already formed the anti-skill player fucking cult. If you're a skill player in Jeff Iafrate's eyes on the offensive side of the ball, you are dirt. You're getting run into the ground unless you're that elite guy, and then your contract gone. Draft another one.
This wide receiver class is deep. I don't want one in the first round. I mean, you brought up Tyler Boyd. Okay, look at that trio or that wide receiver core. That was Tyler Boyd, now a free agent.
Mhm.
Tyler Boyd and T. Higgins were both second-round picks. All right, so T. Higgins,
T.
though.
Higgins was the first pick in the second round, though.
I didn't know
Okay,
you
so
knew that. I didn't know you knew that.
not
But
just
hey,
like he
hey,
was 60th overall.
but there are DK Metcalf second-round pick. There's a lot of guys that are second-round picks. Puka
There
Nacua
is.
passed the first round. Obviously, he was like, what, fifth-round pick?
Yeah.
Brad Holmes, I just think first rounder, or if they trade back, I don't think the first selection, I'll say that first selection, if they trade back, I'll add that in because they could trade out of the first round. The first selection should be a wide receiver. And
Do you know what I would love?
Go
ahead.
Yeah.
No, you
I
go
was
because
gonna say,
mine's going to be a little longer.
This will be 2 seconds because it's kind of like a yes. My thing is why I'm so heavy on wide receivers in round 1 is to what Brad was saying. When you talk about guys that could start week 1, impact year 1, I think without a doubt, wide receiver is the heaviest category in this draft. So that's why it's like, do you want a guy that can start year 1 and produce year 1? Maybe not at a wide receiver 1 level, but he's can produce in. Or do you maybe want to reach when you look at 3 years down from the draft at a corner or a defensive end? I think wide receiver is the safest way to go at the back end of the draft in this class specifically.
And that's a fair argument.
I think it's fair. I think I hate to do this. I don't want to be that guy because Jeff gets mad all the time when I do this, but I think I'm going to be in the middle here to where like I truly am okay with if they went 29 and got a wide receiver. I know it goes back to you took Jahmyr Gibbs and we all questioned it. If they take Xavier Legette at 29, I'm not going to question it after seeing what Jahmyr Gibbs did. But I'm going to say this, Lucas. I agree with you on that, to where if Brad does do it, if Brad does it, and even if it's not Xavier Legette, if he takes another wide receiver, whoever it is, I trust him. My preference, this is just me being this is my preference. I wouldn't mind, say Mikey Sanders still falls to 35, 36 somehow, some way, and they traded back, got Mikey at 35, 36, added another top four round 4 or whatever pick. Go get Jalen Polk at 61. Go get your best players available after that. If he thinks Marshawn Nealand is, if he thinks Austin Booker is, whoever it is, Cooper Bay or whatever. Then that would be my more ideal thing. I would rather have like the Mikey Sanders still and a Jalen Polk instead of just getting Xavier Legette and not getting like a Mikey or something.
No, that's a good point too. I would probably prefer that as well. I'm gonna
Like,
say
it's
if
a
you were
2
to
for 1 at
stay
that
at
point.
29, yeah. And I would go my just personal. I'd go wide receiver, then I would go defensive line, then corner. But I'm not gonna be mad if Kool-Aid McKinstry is sitting there at 29 and Brad Holmes takes Kool-Aid McKinstry. I'm not gonna be sitting there pissed off. I'm not.
Lucas, don't you think though it's like a 2 for 1 almost? If you can end up getting
that's why I would have. I'm just saying no
61
trades like.
Yeah. That's how I'm looking at it more so. You can get two impactful players instead of just one. That's my eyes.
That's what I was saying. That
Jalen Polk's more impactful than a D end at that 61, in my opinion.
I agree. That's why I said at like the beginning of the show. I think if he trades back, it's not more entertaining, but it makes the draft more interesting because now he can really go and not get just strictly needs, but now he can get talent and needs as well.
Do you guys feel that?
Jeff, why were you so surprised with the order Lucas said? I feel like we've done that like every other mock draft, wide receiver, D-line, corner. We've always been like consistent with taking the corner with that last one, it'd be Max Melton or whatnot. And then Lucas said that and you just gave him the dirtiest look.
Wide
receiver, D-line, corner. We don't.
I'll say, okay, this is where I'm at with it. We talked about this yesterday. So if you watch the show, then you kind of know where I'm going with this. It's not a pick where I would walk out. Brad Holmes, he's got my trust to where I'm not walking out for any selection, but it's like my least personal favorite where I'd be like, yes, like you land a wide receiver in the first round. Like I'd be like, okay, cool. Like maybe this offense goes from top 3 to, 2.
But Jeff,
like awesome.
Jeff, don't you not trust Brad Holmes? When it comes to that,
I do.
That's why he's not walking out the room.
Boy, this defense, you need a defense that
you do, but he doesn't care.
You can put out a top 12 product so you can win a Super Bowl.
I agree. We all agree with you.
Conversation last year. That was and the defense already got better. It's the same conversation.
You just said that's what we said last year. What came back to bite them in the ass?
They already up. I agree with you, but what really sucked? The cornerback room. upgrade. The defensive line. Everybody was clamoring for Jalen Carter. They just got DJ Reader. They just got him to go along with the lead.
Yeah, no. I'm over that. I'm over that.
Marcus Davenport off the edge. But but you talk about how can you put the cherry on top and really elevate all those pieces you just added is by making what you do even better and then go back to what you were doing. I think if you kind of do what you need to do what you need to do what you need to elevate, do what you need to do what you need to do, elevate. That's how I think you upgrade and just in general, not just in sports, but just everything. And I think you see that through Brad Holmes' draft philosophy. He wouldn't have traded up for JMO, just be like, this is what we always do. We're going to go take a guy with a torn ACL, potentially might not make it just really smaller, but we're going to stay there. No, like he wants to get aggressive and take specifically playmakers. He's shown that.
Yeah. Now, again, like, and just like Steve said, and this is something it is a unquestioned line that we always say, let Brad cook. Yes.
Let him cook.
But at the same, wow. Holy hell.
ECL.
Yeah,
hey,
what a
all the way
legend,
from
man.
Cali. All the way from Cali.
West Coast, baby. Let's go.
That's dope.
California
ECL.
knows how to party.
We appreciate you.
California
Yeah, thank you for the $50. Says, thank you, boys, for putting in work.
party.
Love the show. ECL.
Sorry. In
Love
the
you, brother.
city.
We love you. Thank you so much.
Shout out
Keep
ECL.
saying it, Boone. Keep saying it, Boone.
Beautiful.
I love it. I don't want to make this when we have these conversations. I think some people may be like, "Oh, Jeff, he doesn't trust Brad Holmes." No, I do. We're just kind of spitballing here with our preference.
Isn't it interesting though?
If you were Brad
what
Holmes,
he's done,
Which I'm not, because I'd probably end up with like a Matt Millen draft. So I don't want that.
look at his picks the last 2 years though. He's taken a playmaker in the top 12 back-to-back years already. Right? He's done that back-to-back years. So to Lucas's point, again, this is me playing middleman here. I'm like, you guys are fighting, and I'm like I'm the friend that's just like pushing you guys, like, come on, boys, break it up. And I'm really not breaking it up because I don't know what to do. But seriously,
There, like, all right.
Oh yeah, like, okay, boys, come on. I don't want to get in this fight. I'm not a fighter. But you see what I'm saying is Lucas's point. He's taken a weapon back-to-back years, number 12 overall. So he at 29, I don't think it's sitting here saying it's out of the picture. He doesn't care. Again, if his favorite wide receivers left on the board and all of his edges are off the board and all of his corners are off the board and all of his defensive players are off the board, he's going to take a wide receiver. He's going to.
Yeah, but okay, then take a weapon every year, Boone. You know what I mean?
That's not the thing, though. That's not what I'm saying.
You got 7 rounds.
But Jeff,
I'm saying in the first round.
Jeff, you're not. I don't know if you're getting my point though. Here, I don't think it's.
I do. I am trolling.
My point, like, if Devon Witherspoon didn't get taken, right before them, they were never going to get Jahmyr Gibbs, or maybe they would have at 18, and they wouldn't have got Jack Campbell. So they were going to go defense last year right away. It's just the way. Like, if everyone's off the board that Dan or Brad loves, every defensive player, guess what? He's going to go to his other best player.
Which makes sense. I am trolling you. It does make sense. It does.
Right.
And I think looking at. Go ahead, Jeff. So you can finish.
No, I was just going to say, like, what we talked about with Brad, his thinking is best player available. If he thinks it's a wide receiver, like, yeah, go ahead. But again, we're going to go into next year. And I think it's fair for fans to be like, okay, let's see this pass rush. Can't wait for it. I can't wait for this pass rush. I can't wait for the secondary. Because as much as I want to see shiny toys, like, it's awesome. But like, at some point, man, the Chiefs won because they have Mahomes. Yes. But also that game should have showed you that defense, man. The defense is important. And that's where I'm a little skeptical about this year. I think the Lions are Super Bowl contenders, but I just want them to be a top 10, 12 unit. So
I give up. I don't know I don't know how else to explain this to Jeff Iafrate.
No, I understand. I understand Brad's philosophy, Boone. That's just I'm just talking about my fears, like,
I agree with you that
there's no way you can say you're not worried about this they're going to be top 10. Like,
again, I told you, and I've made this clear. I want, you have to put a top 15 defense on the field to go win a Super Bowl next year. That is, you have to. You were 23rd last year. You have to make a jump. But again, I get it. You need to address the defense. That's just never, no matter what, is how his brain's worked. So I get it. Like, if it was me as the GM, I probably would be dumb and go straight defensive end and corner in the first 2 rounds.
But like, Jeff, does the fact that if you look outside of Penei Sewell and Aiden Hutchinson in the first round, like Brad Holmes is obviously hit, but you look at the second, third, fourth, fifth round of the draft and how much Brad Holmes is consistently hit, that doesn't like assure you a little bit more that, okay, I mean, you got a Lee McNeil in the third, like you can go down all the pick. If he goes wide receiver, the man's still going to produce in the middle of the draft because that's what he's done with his foundational pieces. Like that doesn't make you be like, all right, Brad, like at 29, you're basically dealing with the second round pick. So all the people are like, oh, well, look at Brad Holmes in the second round with defensive linemen. I was like, okay, now you're asking him to draft Darius Robinson, 29th overall, but you're going to say he can't draft defensive linemen in the second round. If you want him to trade back, now you say, oh, he can't draft defensive linemen in the second round. What do you want the man to do? The man's going to hit regardless. It's just, like, if you're asking me, does taking TJ Tampa in round 2 or Kool-Aid McKinstry in round 1 and when week 1 hits, does that really make much of a difference? No, I really don't think it does if both players pan out. It's just the recency bias of being in the moment. Like the draft is a 3-day event. It's not made in one day. And Brad Holmes has shown Lions fan that consistently.
And to Jeff, before you go again, I could break this down a little bit more and a little deeper with that too, because today in the press conference he did mention, he might have played the clip and it was a little bit within a clip, but he did mention as well, like he does get that there are probably defenses like defense. Yes, you need that, but to his point, and it made a lot of sense, was, hey, if you want me to go defensive end at 29 and you think defensive end and corner is the one to do, okay, so say he does that and he doesn't love a guy and you end up drafting him at 29 and he doesn't affect the team at all. And you just wasted the 29th overall pick because you had to go defense and you feel like they needed a defensive end. You felt like they needed a corner and he just reached at one that he knew he didn't really like fully, but that's something that we need so we can get a top 15 defense. But there's really not a guy that fits the mold of the Lions. And then now you're sitting there, you're like, okay, so I'm just doing it just to do it because we need it. Do you see what I'm saying? And that's exactly what he said today to the media was, I can't just draft a defensive end just to draft a defensive end. I have to like him, and I have to think he fits the mold of this team. And if that's not it, then now we're just drafting a guy to draft him. And he's going to be – that's how you find – that's why Brad doesn't have many busts. It's because he does not give in to we need depth. We need to get this defense good here. But he doesn't. We don't like anyone. That's why I think he's so good at what he does is because of that. To where, maybe there's a defensive end on the board at 29, Jeff. And I'm with you. I would love it if a guy falls to 29 that he truly loves. Like, say he loves Darius Robinson and they take him. I'm gonna be so happy because I know Brad took him because he's a Brad Holmes dude and he passed his test, and we got to upgrade that defense. But I just don't want him to reach at a defender just because we need it. I do not want him to do that. That's like the last thing you would want on this football team.
I'm not saying to reach because you need a defensive player. I don't want that to be. My point is, I believe a defensive player that'll be available will be one of the best of players available.
Which is fair. That's fair.
I'm not saying force it, but what I'm saying is, like, when you look at this draft, that's why I always say I prefer trading up because you can go get one of the better defensive players. That's why I've always said trade up. But I want to make that clear. I don't agree with forcing it because that doesn't make any sense. Number one, but
that's my only thing with it. That's my only thing with it. And I get what you're saying. Then if you do feel like Jeff Iafrate that one of those guys is one of the best, and Brad just checked all those boxes, I'm all in on that. Like, I'm with you on that. Defense is a priority.